Let's cross over now to DW correspondent Bastian Hartig in New York. Bastian, the U.S. was key to booting Russian banks from the SWIFT system. So this is really a united international effort on the part of Western allies, isn't it?
Well, it is now, Amian. This is actually, to be frank, something that the U.S. would have done days ago. There was a press conference on Thursday that U.S. President Biden gave, and he was asked in that press conference, why aren't you taking this step? Why aren't you kicking Russia out of SWIFT? And his answer was, because the European partners aren't on board. And chief among those European partners, of course, was Germany, because they depend a lot. Germany depends a lot on energy deliveries from Russia. And so kicking Russia out of SWIFT, making those transactions, those financial transactions, more difficult and more costly, Germany was afraid that that was going to hamper their ability to get energy from energy deliveries, gas, coal from Russia. So that's why they were against it. But now, as it seems, international pressure just got too big in light of what we're seeing happening in Ukraine and the Russian aggression and the war that Russia is waging there, that in the end, Germany and other European countries finally caved, and they saw that they had to agree to this and to this sanction that is now being slapped on Russia, and that experts say is one of the most severe economic sanctions that the West can impose on Russia. The
UN Security Council, which we've seen meet in New York they're set to convene a rare emergency General Assembly meeting in New York as well. How significant is that?
That is significant. This would be only the 10th time that an emergency session of the General Assembly is convened since 1950. So that shows you that that is not something that usually happens. There's going to be a vote tomorrow if that session should be convened. And then if the vote is yes, which is very likely, then that will happen on Monday. Then you can be assured right now, Amian, there's diplomats writing up the resolution that is going to be introduced at that session, chief among them the United States, who's leading that effort. And they will present that resolution to 193 states in the General Assembly. And that's why this is so important, because this is the only body in the world that has all the world's countries in it. And if they vote in favor of that resolution, condemning Russia of its actions in Ukraine and demanding of Russia to withdraw immediately its troops from Ukraine, then that will isolate Russia on the international stage, and it will show that it's acting against the will of the majority of the world's countries. Now, that's why the drafters of this resolution, they're going to be working frantically to get as many countries on board with this as possible. They're going to be probably looking to get north of maybe 100 votes in favor of this resolution. That's what they got back in 2014 after Russia annexed Crimea. Now, in light of the fact that this aggression seems much more severe than the annexation of Crimea, they will probably hope to get more than that. So that's what we're going to be waiting to see. That vote will probably take place around Wednesday of next week.
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Now, U.S. President Biden also called for more weapons to be sent to Ukraine. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so that is what Secretary of State Blinken announced earlier yesterday or today, that $350 million worth of weapons is going to be delivered to Ukraine by the United States. Now, he didn't specifically say what kind of weapons exactly they were going to be sending, but Ukraine asked for missiles or air defense capabilities, surface-to-air missiles, for example, anti-tank weaponry that they needed to fight back this Russian onslaught. And so after the United States announced those $350 million in military aid that they're going to deliver, we saw other countries follow suit. And we saw, as we saw earlier on this show, that Germany also agreed now to send weapons, other European countries too. The question now is going to be, are those weapons going to be, is it possible to deliver them quickly enough to Ukraine, get them in the hands of Ukrainian soldiers for them to make a difference, because we don't know how much longer they're going to be able to defend their country, Amin.
DW correspondent Bastian Hartig in New York. Thank you, Bastian.